Sometimes the biggest betrayals don't come from enemies outside. They come from the people you trust the most. In a world where business secrets are worth millions, one whisper from a little girl was all it took to bring an entire company crashing down. Stay with me, because this is the story of a CEO who discovered a hidden camera in his own office, and the shocking events that led him to fire everyone the very next day. It was a Monday morning like any other at Crosstech Enterprises. The lobby buzzed with the sound of heels on marble floors, the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, and employees hurried to their desks with heads full of tasks for the day. Daniel Cross, the company's founder and CEO, was making his way through the lobby, coffee in hand, nodding politely to staff. At 45, Daniel was sharp, disciplined, and known for his perfectionism. He had built his tech empire from scratch, and nothing mattered more to him than the integrity of his business. As he neared the reception desk, he noticed Sarah, one of his longtime employees, sitting with her young daughter. The little girl, about 7 years old, had bright hazel eyes and hair neatly tied back with a pink ribbon. Daniel smiled warmly. "Well, good morning, Sarah. And who is this lovely young lady?" "This is Emma," Sarah said with a proud smile. "She's just keeping me company today." Daniel crouched down to meet Emma's eyes. "Hi, Emma. Welcome to Crosstech. Big place, isn't it?" Emma nodded shyly, her gaze wandering around the tall glass walls and shiny floors. Then she leaned forward ever so slightly, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Mr. Daniel," she said seriously, "there's a camera in your office." Daniel chuckled lightly, assuming she was talking about the security cameras. "Oh, you mean the ones in the hallways? Those are just for safety." But Emma shook her head. "No, in your office, behind the clock." The words hit Daniel like a cold splash of water. He forced a smile, but inside something stirred: confusion, unease, and a hint of suspicion. "I see," he said softly. "That's interesting. Thanks for telling me, Emma." He patted her shoulder and walked toward the elevator, but his mind was now far from the day's meetings. Scene shift, the discovery. The moment Daniel stepped into his private office, the familiar comfort of his workspace suddenly felt foreign. He glanced at the sleek, minimalist clock hanging on the far wall. It had always been there, modern, stylish, a gift from one of his senior managers. His heart thumped faster. He pulled a chair over, climbed up, and carefully took the clock off the wall. Behind it, nestled in a small cutout, was a tiny black lens, barely visible to the untrained eye. No blinking light. No wires hanging loose. This was no ordinary camera. It was a professional-grade surveillance device. Daniel's expression hardened. He followed the thin wire into the wall and saw it vanish into the structure. Someone had gone to great lengths to install this without being detected. He picked up the phone and called IT. "Mark, I need you in my office. And bring your tools." Within minutes, Mark, the company's head of IT, arrived, toolbox in hand. As Daniel pointed to the device, Mark's face turned pale. "This isn't our equipment," Mark muttered, pulling the wall panel apart. "Whoever put this here knew what they were doing. This is encrypted, sends data offsite. And it's been running for months." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Months?" Mark nodded grimly. "Audio and video. This thing was recording every single conversation you've had in here." Scene shift, quiet investigation. Daniel didn't storm into the open office. He didn't yell. He knew that if this was an inside job, confronting people too early could destroy the evidence. Instead, he called in his head of security, ordered them to pull all building access logs, and began reviewing every after-hours entry into his office over the past 6 months. By 3 a.m., the truth was staring him in the face. 3 of his senior managers, people he had worked with for years, had entered his office on multiple late nights, sometimes together, sometimes separately. Security footage from the cameras in the hallway showed them carrying small black cases, plugging in devices, and making late-night phone calls from his desk. One clip even caught them laughing while holding stacks of printed documents. It was corporate espionage. They were stealing project blueprints, client lists, and confidential deals, and selling them to a rival company. Scene shift. The confrontation. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the office before anyone else. He didn't prepare his usual coffee. Instead, he prepared a single folder, thick with printed security logs, photographs, and transcripts. By 9 a.m., every single employee was summoned to the large conference room. The air was tense, the silence heavy. Daniel walked in slowly, placing the folder on the table. His gaze swept over the room, making eye contact with each person. "Last night," he began, his voice calm but cold, "I discovered something that shakes the very foundation of this company." A murmur ran through the room. For months, someone has been recording every conversation, every private meeting, every deal I've made. Right here in my own office. Faces turned pale. People exchanged nervous glances. "And thanks to the honesty of one little girl," Daniel continued, "I found the proof." He opened the folder and spread the photographs on the table. Images of the hidden camera, screenshots from security footage, and printed transcripts of stolen conversations. Gasps filled the air. 3 people in the room avoided his eyes entirely. Daniel's voice dropped to a razor-sharp edge. "Effective immediately. All of you are terminated." The room erupted in chaos, people shouting, standing, protesting their innocence. But Daniel didn't flinch. "The guilty will face the law," he said firmly. "But the rest of you? You stood by while this company was betrayed. You let the rot grow under your noses. I built this business from nothing, and I will rebuild it without any of you." Security entered, escorting employees out. The 3 guilty managers were held behind for questioning until police arrived. Scene shift. The aftermath. Over the following weeks, Daniel worked from a temporary office space with a brand new security system. The 3 managers were charged with corporate theft and breach of trust. Sarah, Emma's mother, was one of the few spared from termination. Daniel knew she had no involvement in the betrayal. In fact, she had unknowingly raised the very person who saved him. One sunny afternoon, Daniel met them at the park. Emma was playing on the swings when he approached with a small gift box. "Emma," he said warmly, kneeling to her level, "you saved my company. I owe you more than you know." She smiled shyly. "You're welcome, Mr. Daniel." He handed her the box. Inside was a shiny toy camera. "Just promise me this one isn't recording me," he said with a grin. Emma giggled. "Promise." Closing moral. Narrator. Sometimes the smallest voices see the biggest truths. And sometimes, it's the courage to speak up that changes everything. Daniel would go on to rebuild Crosstech with a tighter team, a stronger security system, and a newfound respect for the quiet moments when someone dares to tell the truth, no matter how small they are.